Welcome back to Living Inspired with Autism. I'm your host, Antoinette. Today, we are going to be diving into the topic that I believe is absolute cornerstone of everything I do here. It's the engine behind how we show up as a parent, how you show up in your career, how you show up for yourself when the house is finally quiet. The title of today's episode is, What Do You Want to Believe? Now, I want to be very transparent with you right off the bat. That title is a little bit misleading because of the word want. And I chose that word intentionally because I want us to get really curious about this massive life-altering difference between wanting to believe something and actually believing it. It seems like such a subtle shift, a tiny pivot in your vocabulary, but it is everything. Now, for many of us in the autism community, we spend a lot of time wanting things. We want our children to reach their milestones. We want our schedules to be easier. We want to feel less overwhelmed. But wanting is a state of lack. It's looking at that gap. Believing is something entirely different. Believing is the energy of it's done. It's a done deal. Now, I've recently figured this out for myself in a profound way, and I think it's why I'm seeing results in my own life so rapidly. But when I work with my parents, even the most advanced, high-achieving parents, I see that they often still aren't quite getting it. They are still living in the wanting phase, and today I'm going to show you how to move past that into the rock star version of your life, where you don't just survive the diagnosis or your life, you lead your family from a place of inspiration. Most of us are trained to be realistic. We look at the data, we look at therapy reports, we look at bank accounts, we look at the clock, or we wait for evidence before we allow ourselves to believe in a result. It's easy to believe something after it's already happened. It's easy to believe your kiddo can handle a transition one day because they've successfully done it 5 times in a row. And it's easy to believe you can have a flourishing career when the money is already pouring in. What's challenging and where your true power lies is believing when you don't have the evidence. Can you believe a milestone will happen when the progress feels stagnant? Can you believe you can create a life you love when the current evidence suggests that you're just a taxi driver for your kids? I have a parent who has set a very measurable goal for her business, and she was so excited at first. She was ready to go crazy and hit this big target. But as she got closer to the deadline, she noticed that her numbers weren't adding up the way she wanted. And immediately, she started to do what we all do. She started explaining why she wasn't going to meet her goal. She started justifying it. Her vocabulary shifted. She started saying things like, it's totally fine if I don't meet it. It's still a great accomplishment. Now, just hear the energy of that. It's passive. It's not a big deal energy, used to protect herself from disappointment. But here's the kicker. She hadn't even reached her deadline yet, and she was already withdrawing her belief. Now, in this community, we are often told to lower our expectations to avoid grief and disappointment. But I recommend the opposite. I recommend setting goals that freak you out a little bit. Why? Because a goal you already know how to achieve doesn't require any internal growth, as I've spoken about in previous podcasts. The point of the goal isn't just the milestone. It's the evolution that you go through to become the person who can achieve it. When we set a big goal, whether it's a personal health goal, a business target, or a specific milestone for our kiddo, It's easy to believe at the beginning because we feel like we've got plenty of time. But when you're months into the year and the math isn't working, that's when you most need to commit to the belief. This is why I always advocate for breaking things down. So if you've got a goal for the year, break it down in 90-day systems. You have to work within a specific belief system every single quarter. If you find yourself at the 7th month mark and you haven't seen the results you wanted, you might think you can't believe in the original goal because the math doesn't add up. You think that belief is based on logic, that you don't have enough time left. But belief is a choice, not a reaction to math. The moment you decide something is impossible, you make it true. You stop looking for solutions. You stop showing up with the energy of a winner. Choosing to believe isn't one big decision that you make once. It's 1,000 tiny decisions you make every day to stay aligned with your vision until you achieve it. Now, I want to offer you an important distinction between the difference between wanting to believe something and actually living in the belief as if it's already done. And I can always tell when one of my clients truly believes in a goal because their vocabulary changes. They stop saying, "Wouldn't it be nice?" and start talking about the logistics of their success. Now, for example, when I talk about getting a fitness model body, I'm not trying to figure out if it's possible. I'm talking to my coach. We're figuring out how I'm going to handle low energy days, sick days, how I will deal with possible cravings, how I will accommodate that level of commitment that's required of me. I also talk about I need to take action to deal with the results that are already coming. I believe it's a done deal. Contrast that with trying to figure out how. The energy of I need to figure this out is often like really heavy and full of scarcity. But when you already believe, you come from a place of abundance and curiosity. Instead of, "Oh my gosh, this is so hard," you say, "Oh, that's interesting. I wonder how we'll solve that." So let's apply this to your life of autism. Maybe you want to be able to potty train your kiddo or try to expand their communication. You want these to be the outcome. You want to try and see if it works. And trying and wanting produces the feeling of lack. So shifting your belief of trying and becoming the person who does and believes that the outcome is inevitable is what you are striving for. This is how you rock your life. You stop being the parent who is trying to cope and start being the person who lives inspired. One identity is always focused on the struggle and the other identity has already moved past it and is focused on what's next. If you truly believed that your kiddo's success was a done deal, you wouldn't spend your time explaining why the current numbers are low. If your goal is for your kiddo to achieve a specific level of independence by the end of the year, and they aren't there yet in September, the current status doesn't mean the goal is dead. It's just a stepping stone. It's not relevant to the final outcome. Think about the most basic human milestone, which is walking. We all learn to walk. Think about how many times you failed. But did your parents ever stop believing in you? When you were wobbling and falling and holding on to the furniture, did your parents look at the evidence and say, "I don't know, this kid just isn't a walker"? Of course not. They never doubted. It didn't matter how long it took or how many times you fell. They believed all the way up until the point you took those first steps. So what if you believed in your own goals? The ones for your business, for your health, for your joy, with that same level of toddler walking certainty? What if you had no doubt? even if all the evidence was to the contrary. Because let's be honest, there's plenty of evidence that a toddler can't walk until the moment that they do. People often ask me, Antoinette, what is the downside of believing so hard in something that might not happen? And my answer is, I can't think of one. The moment you ask, what if it doesn't happen? You've already stopped believing. You have opened the door to doubt. My big goals aren't actually about money or very specific results. They're about who I become in the process of believing in them. And if you wait to believe in something until after you've achieved it, you've missed the point. Belief is the fuel that creates the result. And if the deadline passes and you didn't hit the goal, it just reveals the way you weren't yet aligned with that result. That is called learning. It shows you where you are still clinging to doubt instead of belief. We are so afraid to fail, people. And often people say, don't set big goals, just stay in the present moment. And I say that you can do both. In fact, setting a big goal is what brings your present moment doubt and fear to the surface so that you can handle it. Dealing with that fear is what makes you strong. It's what makes your life interesting. As humans, we have the incredible privilege of being able to believe whatever we want. We don't have to have proof. We can believe things simply because they serve us and help us show up as people that we want to be in the world. I choose to believe in unconditional love. I choose to believe that every human is 100% lovable, regardless of what they've done. I choose to believe that I'm an example of what is possible for a human being, regardless of my past. It is so tempting to just believe what everyone else believes. It's tempting to believe the realistic limitations people place on you and your child because it feels like a way to stay connected to the community. But I want you to take a moment of consciousness and decide, what do I want to believe on purpose? Maybe it's the goal that you haven't told anyone about because you're afraid they'll think you're delusional. You have to believe so hard that you believe for everyone. When people tell me, but Antoinette, other people don't believe in me, I say, who cares? Why is that even relevant? They aren't creating your life. You can decide to believe in yourself more than they doubt you. When you believe in something hard, the miracles start to happen. Options and possibilities start to present themselves. Things that you couldn't even see when you were shrouded in the how and what if. But I won't lie to you, believing is hard work. It doesn't always come naturally. It requires you to manage your mind every single day. So if you could believe anything about your child, about your career, about your body, about your own capacity for joy, what would it be? I want you to know that I believe in you. I believe in your ability to hold that vision for your life until it becomes a reality. You don't have to explain it to anyone. You don't have to defend it. Just live it, and eventually it will start to show up in your life. Are you ready to stop just wanting and start being the person who creates the life they love? If you are ready to move from autism parent and going to living inspired mode, I'm here to walk that path with you. We can look at those big, scary goals together and find the belief system that makes them inevitable. If you'd like to book a one-on-one consult where your doubt is hiding and replace it with a belief that you need to rock your life and your parenting, So the link will either be in my bio or in the show notes. So grab your spot. Have a gorgeous, beautiful week, everyone. I believe that you will. Talk to you soon. Till next week. Bye.